What's up, motherfuckers? I've helped multiple entrepreneurs scale to over 100K a month, and here's what I've discovered. Difference between those who break through revenue ceilings and those who stay stuck isn't strategy, knowledge, or even work ethic. It's identity. I've had multiple clients who are stuck below the 20K a month mark, had all the strategies they've needed to scale, and then they've had the funnels, the systems, the offers, but they've been stuck for ages. I had a client who was hitting 25K a month, had all the strategies he needed to scale, but he was stuck there for 8 months. You know what changed that got him to 101K just 90 days later? Not his marketing strategy, not his pricing, not his team structure. What changed was who he became. And in this video, I'm going to show you the 5 identity shifts that are non-negotiable if you want to break through your current revenue ceiling, whether that's 10K, 20K, 50K, 100K months. Understanding, I've been obsessed for the last few years with one question. What's the real difference between entrepreneurs who make 7 figures with ease versus those who stay stuck despite having all the right strategies? And after working with hundreds of business owners, scaling multiple businesses myself, I've identified the exact identity shifts that make the difference. And let me be completely transparent with you. In my entire coaching career, working with over 200 clients, I've only ever had to refund 2 people. You know why? Because they couldn't make these identity shifts. They knew what to do, but they couldn't become who they needed to be. They operated from their amygdala rather than prefrontal cortex. And the other 200 plus clients, they've made these shifts and the results speak for themselves. We've had Etsy owners break the 13K month mark, to drop shippers who went from 5K a month to 20K a month profit in just 4 weeks. And today I'm going to give you the same framework I've used to help these entrepreneurs transform their businesses while working less. So if you're finding value in this, hit the subscribe button, notification bell. I drop practical, no bullshit content every week that can transform your business results. Now here's what I'll cover today. 1, why most entrepreneurs focus on the wrong things when trying to scale. 2, the 5 identity shifts required to break the revenue ceilings. And I'll even drop you in a next step so that you can actually implement all of this in part 3 of this series. Anyhow, so why identity matters. Most entrepreneurs are obsessed with doing. They are good action takers. They slam it. What strategy do I implement? What tactic do I do next? What system do I build? But here's the uncomfortable truth. You don't have a strategy problem. You have an identity problem. Let me explain this with a very simple example. So when you wake up in the morning, you don't have to convince yourself to brush your teeth, right? I fucking hope not, you stinky breath motherfuckers. But you don't need motivation or discipline or accountability. You just do it automatically because it's who you are. You're somebody who brushes their teeth. That's identity in action. Now imagine if making high leverage business decisions felt just automatic. Imagine if delegating tasks, raising your prices, having difficult conversations in your personal and professional life felt as natural as brushing your teeth. And that's what happens when you make these identity shifts. And here's the thing, when your identity shifts, your actions automatically follow. When you truly see yourself as a CEO rather than a freelancer, rather than an operator, you naturally start making CEO level decisions without the internal resistance. And this is why willpower fails, but identity shifts last. Now, question for you. How many courses, how many programs, how many books have you consumed in the last year? And how many of those strategies have you actually implemented fully? Be honest with yourself. If you're like most entrepreneurs I talk to, you've got a graveyard of half implemented strategies or had bullshit thrown at you. And that's not because necessarily your strategies were bad. It's because you weren't ready to become the person who could execute them. Now, if you want to see exactly how I implement these shifts with my clients, make sure to watch part 3 of these series where I'll share my complete implementation steps. Now, the 5 identity shifts that you need to make and all the best people that I've seen do every single day is identity shift 1. You have to go from doer to decision making. So the first shift is seeing yourself as somebody who does the work to somebody who makes decisions about their work. Now, most entrepreneurs below the 50K a month are still deeply involved in delivery. You're the one writing the copy, you're building the funnels, maybe even delivering the service. But scaling past 50K a month requires you to shift from doing to deciding. Now, here's what that looks like in practice. When a problem arises in your business, the doer thinks, how do I fix this? The decision maker thinks, who is the best person to fix this? When there's a new opportunity, the doer goes, how can I make time to do this? The decision maker thinks, is this aligned with our vision? And if so, who should own this? Now, I remember working with a guy that was making like sub 20K a month, and he described this shift from decision maker, from doer to decision maker, like going from playing every instrument in a band to becoming the conductor. Now, let me tell you about the Etsy business owner that I work with. She was making about 5K a month doing social media management, doing the Etsy store, and building a coaching business as one. But the problem is within her Etsy business, she was the one who was wrapping up all the orders, doing it all herself, answering writing emails, sending out new wholesaling requirees so that she could sell more than one product. But she literally woke up like super early in the morning. She would have to go do part-time, and then she would do her side thing. Like there was a lot going on. And we worked hard on shifting her identity from Etsy creator to Etsy business owner. I was looking at it and I was like, why are you doing all of these different things? This doesn't make sense. Like, you're trying to be a coach for this Etsy business, but why not just make the Etsy business more successful? And then the more success you have with that, the more of these Etsy people are just going to flood over to you. So that's when, after gaining a few coaching clients, we ended up dropping the coaching and going all in on the Etsy. And you know what the crazy thing about this was, like, during her time, like, she was working on getting a pregnancy together. And she was struggling to get pregnant because of all the stress of like handling all the different things. And like, she won't mind me sharing this. Like, it's literally, by the way, like, I've been told that I can share this. But anyhow, yeah, she dived into it and we ended up getting her systems together for her Etsy stuff. And her cash flow went from 2K a month to 5K a month to 13K a month in her business. Like, there's literally like 144K a year difference by just going all in on one thing rather than doing part-time on everything. And she was like, I'm finally so grateful that I can have somebody that fucks with me on my vibe. But then also literally a few months, like, I mean, it might even been a year later, she didn't have all the stress going on in her mind that was playing up with her in her personal life as well. Now, identity shift 2 is from reactive to strategic. Now, the second shift is from someone who reacts to what's happening in their business to somebody who actually creates what's going to happen next. At the usually below the 50K a month mark level, most entrepreneurs are in reactive mode. You're fucking throwing shit at the wall, hoping it sticks, responding to client demands, you're putting out fires, you're chasing the next sale when cash flow dips, when a client leaves, or you're following industry trends after they emerge. But scaling to 50K a month plus requires strategic thinking, planning quarters in advance, creating trends rather than following them, building systems that prevent fires, having predictable revenue models. I remember working with a client. I remember myself, like, when I've earned 10K a month in email stuff, in VSL stuff, in Facebook launches, Instagram launches, all of this different stuff, rather than like actually just stick to it. But when I actually stuck to one strategy and did it longer than 2 months, that was when I exploded from like a roller coaster of like 15 to 2K a month all the way up to a 36K a month. And I was like, duh. Obviously, this happens when you just are not bouncing around things. And then when we were in business partnership, and then when I was in my business partnership, the same thing was when I came in. Like, it was a previous 300K a month business. When I came in, it dropped down to 25K a month. And then from there, it was like, oh shit, we're doing like so many different things. Like, let's just strip it back to what was working in the past. And like, let's take out like all these different team members that are doing 100 different things and just like have the team members that are doing what they need to do. And then shock, we went from 25K a month to 50K a month to then 83K a month. It was just like bang, 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 bang. Because we just focused, like, we stopped being reactive and we started being strategic. And like, I have a thing for you, like, when was the last time you spent an entire day working on the business, not in it? If you disappeared for a week right now, would your business grow? Would it maintain or collapse? Like, we know exactly what's happening with our marketing, with our sales. Like, I could take a week off and like, we'll be sweet. So if you're being reactive instead of strategic, you don't have a business. You have a job that you created for yourself with the world's worst boss. You are the bottleneck right now. So before I share the next identity shift, if you're finding value in these insights, make sure to give this a like, make sure to subscribe. Now, next step here, identity shift number 3 is from expert to leader. You are already an expert in your field, but now you need to identify as a leader of the experts. And this is particularly challenging for service providers, coaches, even product-based businesses who built their business on their expertise. But here's the thing, your expertise got you to 10, 20, 30, 40K a month. Your leadership will get you to 50K a month and beyond. And as an expert, your value is in what you know and what you can do. As a leader, your value is in your vision and your ability to attract and direct other experts. This might look like hiring people who are better than you at specific tasks, developing systems that allow others to deliver results without you doing it, spending more time on your vision and strategy rather than tactically executing all the time. So let me tell you another real turning point for one of my clients. She was an online legal services provider and she's making sub 50K a month. She was doing 70, 80-hour work weeks and still didn't have all her systems dialed in, which meant that she was stressed in her personal life and not showing up for gym, her health, health, her relationship as much as she would like to. And that complete overwhelm just meant that she wasn't achieving her grand vision, which was expanding her company, not just outside of London, but to Cardiff, to Newcastle, to Birmingham, to all across the UK, all across the Europe. And it meant that like she just couldn't expand beyond the 50K a month mark as well. And you know what the crazy thing was? Once we actually got a solid strategy behind her, like literally exactly what she needed to do, and then we got exactly who she needed to become, put that, and then we installed the subconscious frameworks to allow her to shift her mind, rewire the processes within her brain. She started showing up better. She started leading her team and building structures and systems. She started hiring higher level people. And within 2 weeks, she'd gone from 50K a month to 50K in a week. She delegated 85% of her work. She had her marketing plan fully dialed in. She had her sales plan in operation and the right people in the right place doing those things. She was saying on one of our calls the other day, I'm so excited that my team are coming on and they're saying like, oh, I love how the team's operating right now. Like, I love how things are going. And like for you, like how much of your identity is wrapped up in being the smartest person in the room? Like, let's be real. Is it your reluctance to hire experts actually about your budget, or is it about your ego? Because if you can't stand the thought of somebody knowing more than you in every area of your business, you've just identified your revenue ceiling. It's fucking you. Now, identity shift 4 is from perfection to iteration. The 4th shift is from someone who needs everything to be perfect to somebody who values iteration and improvement. And this is where I see so many smart, capable entrepreneurs get stuck. They're not going to launch until everything's perfect. They won't delegate until they're 100% sure somebody can do it exactly like they would. But scaling requires speed, and speed requires letting go of perfectionism. So when you identify as an iterative entrepreneur, you launch at 80% and improve based on real feedback. You value progress over perfectionism. You see failures as valuable data points rather than reflections of your worth. And it's crazy, like even in our partnership, when I came in, like I had to go into setting, I had to go into closing. And I was in the work stuff. And we had another leader running the team meetings. And the leader was coming in and was just like chaotic, was unplanned. There was no strategy. There was no team involvement. It was like, she's just going to talk and everybody's going to listen. There's going to be a little bit of impact, but that thing, like nothing was happening with that. And it was like within 2 weeks of me actually running the meetings, we actually had the team working on some of the most important projects. Everybody was moving. The team were doing their individual meetings to make sure the projects were moving forward as they needed to, without the CEO needing to know about everything. So have a think about you, like how many projects, launches, ideas are still sitting in your hard drive, your mental mind right now, waiting to be perfect before you actually let them go. And what's the real cost of your perfectionism? I'll tell you, it's costing you fucking thousands in lost cash every month. Like, what if you just launched the damn thing at fucking 80% tomorrow? Whatever you're procrastinating, perfectionisming on, like, get it fucking launched. Identity shift 5 is from lone wolf to pack leader. So the 5th shift here is from somebody who does it all alone to somebody who builds and leads a pack. So many entrepreneurs pride themselves on their self-reliance. Oh, I built this business on my own, and they'll be like, oh, I grafted it to this point. And that independence might have served you up to a point, but no one scales to 50K a month and beyond just by themselves and then runs a sustainable business alone. This shift requires you to trust others with important aspects of your business, invest in team before you feel ready, create systems for communication and accountability, and find support and mentorship at your level or above. Like, let me call you out. Let me call out something that might feel a little woo-woo, but it's absolutely true. Entrepreneurship is much a spiritual journey as much as a business one. Your ability to trust others, trust yourself, to relinquish control, to see yourself as part of something bigger. These aren't just business skills. They're life skills. And have a think, like, what are you really afraid of when it comes to building a team? Are you afraid they'll screw up? Or are you afraid they'll succeed without you? Because if you're honest with yourself, your lone wolf identity might be more about fear than about strength. And that fear is what's keeping you small. Now, I know you might be wondering, this all sounds great, but how do I actually move through these identity shifts? And that's exactly what I'm going to cover in part 3 of this series, which is the complete implementation framework for making these shifts stick. Here's a quick preview of what you're going to learn. You'll discover how to identify your current identity versus who you need to become, the trigger response protocol, so how to catch yourself in moments of stress, anxiety, indecision, apathy, what's the point, boundary frameworks, so setting clear boundaries that protect your new identity, as well as the neuroproductivity method that my clients have used to make decisions and prioritize their time. And this implementation framework is what separates knowledge from transformation. So in part 3, I'll walk you through exactly how to do that specific to you. So these 5 identity shifts, from doer to decision maker, reactive to strategic, expert to leader, perfection to iteration, and lone wolf to pack leader, are the foundation for breaking through any revenue ceiling. And when you make these shifts, everything changes, not just your business results, but your entire life. Imagine waking up with complete clarity about what matters most. Imagine having the confidence to lead a team that handles 80% of your business operations. Imagine being able to take your time off at 1 and go and do what you want. Go to the gym, go spend time with your family, go spend time with your kids if you have kids, go to a networking event. Imagine being able to actually plan vacations in advance, like without stressing, knowing your business will thrive without your constant attention. But this is not just fantasy. This is the reality I see every day with clients who commit to these identity shifts. But here's the thing, knowledge without implementation is just entertainment. And I don't want this video to just entertain you. I want it to transform you. So that's why click on part 3. Going to be somewhere down below. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on so you don't miss it when it drops. Leave a comment below which identity shift resonated with you the most. What's one small action you can take this week to start embodying that shift? So with that said, I'll see you in part 3 and we'll put this all into action.